Hello, friends. Welcome to Akulmach Live. And, we are all trying to be a leader for our own self, for our own project, for our own company. It is easier said than done. And, to become our leader, especially it is very, very important today in the current context because after 2020, the world has changed a lot and we have to do lot many things by ourselves, and it requires a lot of vigor, a lot of training, and it is easier said than done. So today we are very fortunate to have a very special guest joining us from UK. His name is Jeremy Blaine, and he is going to tell us how you can unleash your inner CEO. In fact, he is also going to talk about his book, which he has recently launched with the same title, and he will share some of his, industry experiences and his from his own nugget of, little things that he has done in his career, and he will share with us, and he will also tell us how we can become our own CEOs, how we can unleash our own CEO. So without further ado, let me welcome Jeremy, who is joining us from UK. Hello, Jeremy. Welcome to Akulmach Live. How are you doing today?
I am very well, CK, and it's great to be back. It's been a while, and I'm delighted to be on your brilliant show again.
Yeah, it is our pleasure. And as I was telling the viewers that it is easier said than done to be a leader, and especially you can be a leader when you have to guide others. But to be your own leader in your own self, it rather requires a bit of training. So, and I know you have, launched your second book. Your first book was a bestseller, very well taken by the industry. And the title of the first book was Inner CEO. However, you have come out with a second version, which is Unleash Your Inner CEO, which is what we need. So why don't you share your thoughts about why you decided to write this second edition of the book?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, and that's it's great to have this published in my hand. And the good news is, because I know a lot of your audience across the great country of India, this has been picked up by a publisher in India, so it's going to go India wide very soon. But it was only launched yesterday, so it's early days. But this is 3 years after the first book, and the whole principle behind this is that individuals at whatever level in our organizations have the capability to lead, particularly now. One CEO, one leader is not enough when we consider the transformational space that our executives are dealing with, the speed of change, and the speed of innovation for a digital world. What that also means, though, is that a lot of our employees coming into the organizations, they're a little bit more capable than probably I was when I first came into the working world, because they know how to work digitally, they know how to collaborate online, they know how to work remotely, they prefer to do more self-work, and they prefer actually to be more fulfilled rather than just looking at a career ladder. There's a lot to be said about having a great job that we can be engaged in and be enjoyed at. And that we can enjoy. So for me, that is as relevant now as it was 3 years ago. But because of that pace of change, it is demanded that I update that first edition. And for this second edition, it comes with new interviews, new case studies, and a lot more, which I will talk about a little bit later.
Absolutely. In fact, your first book was very well written, and it was also very well taken by a lot many professionals across the world, across the board actually. And your first book came out when this was, as we say that it was in the middle of pandemic, as we say that. So there was a lot of new things coming out. People were trying to see how they can work, and now the pandemic is gone. And so your book actually helped a lot of people, a lot of professionals like us to cope up with the pressure of working from remote locations, and also understand how we can do things. And in such situations, we have to be our own leader, because there are so many things we have to do every day, and there is no guide, there's no pressure from anywhere. We have to be, create our own targets. So now you're coming out with the second book, which is about unleashing the inner CEOs. So what has changed between last 3 to 4 years and now, and how the new content in your book is going to help us in this decade? Can you share some thoughts about it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And for me, 3 years for doing a second edition is quite a short period of time. But my argument with the publisher was that it's perfect because of the speed of change. We're much accelerated, and because the last 3 years I've worked with multinational, small enterprises, medium enterprises all around the world, implementing the principles from the first edition. So I've learned a lot, and I've learned that some things needed to be tweaked, and some things needed to be developed further. So that's the natural progression. But since then, also, what I realized were things that were missing. So the voice of the empowered was missing from my book in the first edition. So this is front and center in the second book. So throughout the book, we have interviews with empowered people at all levels who tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in fact, there's a brand new chapter that talks about when empowerment goes wrong, and when we are stepping up to be our self-leaders and leading at all levels, what can go wrong at organizational level, but also at individual level. So that has also come with brand new case studies, updated frameworks and models from the first edition, because I've kind of learned that things needed to be tweaked, as I said, and new interviews also, not just with the voice of the empowered, but with CEOs and business people who are really living and breathing this, walking the talk, if you like, to get it done, because it takes everybody to make this work, not just the individual like us who is the leader. We need support in that, and it's that power of the many and unleashing that potential which is at the heart of this book as a how-to blueprint.
All right, Jeremy, your book has recently hit the stand, but are you at liberty to share certain things with us? What is very peculiar in this book, which you will not get anywhere? I mean, what is the idea? How we can leverage some of the knowledge that you're sharing with us? So if you can share, if you are at liberty only, then you can share, please.
Of course, I'm at liberty. Yes. Well, when I was writing the first edition of this book, the publisher said, "Oh, not another leadership book, not another management book," and all of those listening in here today and afterwards as well, saying, "Yeah, it's right. We know. We go online, we have a look, and there are thousands of these books, but there was not one on the concept that we call leading at all levels or distributed leadership, however we want to do it, autonomous working, empowering our people, taking ownership." Now, we've been paying lip service to this ever since I joined the workforce, and also goes back decades, but we've never been able to do it properly because there doesn't seem to be a blueprint to get it done. So when I was researching out there, what I found a huge surprise was that while there were articles and case studies about this, there was no book on the topic at all. There were leadership books, there were management books, but not books that talked about how do you actually do distributed leadership, how do you make leaders at all level the reality that we've been promising for decades. So that's the first unique point about this. And therefore, coming into this book, the second unique thing was for me not to make it an academic piece of work. I wasn't interested in focusing on the what so much. What does this mean and what do we need to do? I was more focused on why this is so important right now in our organizations, because of all of these moving parts that executives are trying to manage, but also how do you actually do it? And what I realized were there were two key components to that. There was an organizational level action that had to happen, which started at the board, the C-suite, and right through management first, which was missed in many of the articles and case studies that I saw out there. And then, and only then, are you able to deal with how you actually do it with individual contributors, giving them the tools, the 90-day roadmaps, the learning and development that they need, and the project support from management, who should be very coaching led, moving forward. So that was the second core component about it. The third core component, which is unique, is that all of the models are brand new in this book. So in the second edition, they've been updated, or I've put new models in there, but I had to create these fresh. And therefore, I interviewed organizations, individuals from around the world. I built them with people like you. I mean, I was collaborating with you a little bit on this for your perspective, as a great leader as well, CK, and I really appreciate that. So what comes in this book is something brand new out there from a leadership lens perspective, talking about all level leadership, not just the very top or the few.
Well, Jeremy, thank you very much for your compliment. I consider myself as a worker, not as a leader. So I just want to work and follow leaders like you. All the gyan is coming from you, all the knowledge I just absorb like a sponge. All right, I have two important questions here. So I'll go one by one. First question is, many times, most of us, we feel that we know everything. We have seen the world, we know everything, and we kind of shy from taking inputs. So how we convince people that, look, you can read, because if you don't read the book, you will actually not gain anything. Reading book is a very good habit, but people don't know when to read book and which book to read and how do you utilize that book. So do you have a message for generally people, including myself, for everybody, why they should actually read Unleash Your Inner CEO?
Yes, I do. And I think, first of all, actually, CK, it's worth pointing out that this is a mindset shift, first of all. We need an awareness of why this is important. Then we need to acknowledge it as leaders. Then we need to move to action. So there's quite a spread here. And that's why, actually, it's not been easy for many leaders to do this and embrace this, because they're needing to let go. So why is this important, and why is it important to get behind this book? The key argument is that one CEO, one leader, for me, is not enough. We talk about talent with a capital T. We need to start talking about talent with a small t. The many, not the few or the one. So let's consider what we're dealing with as senior leaders in our organizations. And I call this something called the triple now. It's a model that I've created to show all the moving parts and the scope and scale of just what we're trying to deal with here. The three components are the digital world and how that's evolving. And that could be from Web3 to cybersecurity, to being data-driven, to creating ecosystems, to leverage those with our customers, with our employees, etc., etc. The second component is the human and workforce transformation that we're dealing with, and how we cope with how the workforce is evolving, the rise of the blended workforce, independent workers working side by side with permanent workers, not as managed services, but as a value-adding member of the employee team for an organization. A huge amount of remote working and distributed working that we're doing as well, which has grown obviously since the pandemic, and the rise of the need to be more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. All of these things need managing. And then, of course, we haven't even talked about the skill sets that we need for future now. As we look the 2030s ahead, how do we build existing greatest hits skills for communication, collaboration, but how do we also build the new skills that we need for a digital world at leadership level, which you could argue is one of the steepest learning curves, but at all levels as well. And right in the middle, the third component of Triple Now is what I call the leader shift. Leaders are trying to navigate nothing short of business model change, not digital transformation, it's whole business transformation. And therefore, when you're trying to do that at the same time as learning, then you've really got to be, you've got to have a very positive, very clear mindset that you're ready and willing to step into this. We're the same, CK. I am learning, just probably at a slightly quicker pace than many are out there, around all of the things that are hitting us in the digital world, Web3, generative AI, etc., and how we apply those to our business and to our individual functions. But I'm embracing that as a self-learning curve, and that's what we need to do. So when you look at all of those three components together and the need for senior leaders to learn more, then you can't possibly be that leader who makes all the decisions, gets it all right, because there are so many things that we don't know still. And we have to get comfortable in being uncomfortable with many of these different moving parts. So why don't we leverage the potential of the many in our organizations and trust that if we give them the right skills and development and support from a coaching standpoint, that they will be able to move out of a mere job description and start contributing to different things, start embracing their ideas, having ideas, experimenting and encouraging experimentation across our organizations. And then with the power of all of those people together, and this is where the book comes in how we actually do this, then we've got a far better chance of transform successfully, protect our short-term results, and also our long-term growth ambitions. That, in a very big nutshell, is the core component of it, CK. But of course, there is more.
Well, Jeremy, you have already informed us about the new models that you're covering in this new book. But I have a very intriguing question, which is probably quite practical in today's, especially in today's context, starting from 23 to 24 and going beyond, because what is going to happen in future, we don't know. So let me ask you this. You see, what happens is, going back to my previous question, that if you are a CEO, you think I know all, but then you start having trouble in your business. And that is when you start looking for an executive coach. Now, executive coach will not come for absolutely nothing. It'll have some implications in terms of shelling out some fee for the executive coach. Now, executive coach will come and tell you, hey, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you will be successful. The whole point in today's environment is, wherever you are, whichever country, that first of all, you are seeking advice from an executive coach because you are having trouble. You're not able to generate money. You're not able to, make sure that your company is successful. So you have this pressure on your side where you're having a little bit of revenue cash flow issue. And then you have to look for a best executive coach from the industry, which will not be cheap. It'll cost you something. So it's like a catch-22. And that is where, especially today, from my point of view, people are stuck. They need help. They don't know how to take help. If they need help, they don't want to shell out the fee of the executive coach. Now, executive coach may come with some fee, may come with some sort of a deal, because executive coach is not somebody who's like a college going student. He is executive coach because he has been there, done that. And so you can offer some deals, etc. So you have already mentioned certain models in this book, the new book. My question is, how can you help these guys to come on board so that they can start thinking more imaginatively and offer certain things, certain deals to the executive coach? So rope in the executive coach so that you can have a better help provided, a better ecosystem provided. So will your book help these kind of guys?
Well, yes, it will help them, but they need addition, like any book would probably help them, or anything that they might watch. But my key question, my key response would be hitting them right back with, what's the cost of not doing it? Is it going to be greater than the few $100 that you need to pay for the coaching? Or actually, will it help you accelerate forward and start making some difference as you're going ahead here? The problem is that the risk for senior leadership failure is now too great to ignore. So there are a number of actual different tactics that we can use. It's always useful to get an external perspective from somebody who's been there, seen it, done it. They failed a bit, they've succeeded a bit. And for me, for those that I coach, because as a coach, I have to remain very practical and I have to show those wounds, be quite vulnerable to those as well. It helps those leaders kind of come through their own sort of resistance to this as well, and their own fear of failure. But there are other things that they can do. So the rise of peer coaching circles, for example. So they will know in their network other leaders who are probably struggling the same way of theirs. They probably never had that conversation. And getting together with 2 or 3 people who are at your peer level in your network and just sitting down for a virtual coffee and saying, look, what are the key issues we're trying to deal with, and what are the best practices or failures or challenges or opportunities that we've got to do it. There's also that great opportunity of reverse mentoring in our organizations, particularly if it's around the digital skill sets that perhaps some people in our organizations, and that's not just the young people that we like to say, that could be at any level, that can come into the boardroom and say, look, here are the things that can work because we're on the ground. We see what's happening every day in the organization, and here's how we can make it more efficient, but here's how we can help you as leaders get closer to that, and rather than being further removed from it. So you've got those 2 elements. Then you've probably got an executive coach who's more experienced, who's been in business and been through transformation in businesses before, that can also give you or ask you the right questions to help you discover the path for yourselves, but also probably give you a little bit of hybrid coaching and mentoring around sort of this longer term goals here and experience share, put you in touch with other people in their network, which will be equally important, which may not come with a fee. So this small investment, which is a minute amount when you compare with even the turnover an organization or monthly that we've got, can really benefit moving forward. Just to move your mindset, take one step at a time moving forward, and start to put those measurables in from day one.
Yeah, I think you made a very, very valid point, and I think your book would have lot many such ideas. It'll open the mind of the reader, and I think it's a great thing. Unleashing title is also amazing. Unleashing your inner CEO is something which is what all of us need. So, any last words you would like to share with our viewers?
Yeah, well, I think that just making sure that going to that last point we talked about. So there is lots of help in that book around self and personal development. So there is something I call like learning mosaic, which is a patchwork of possible personal development that we can do. But there's a really important point that we need to look after here. It's not just how we do this from a leading at all levels perspective. It's how we look after ourselves emotionally, and how we are attuned as executive leaders, managers, in looking at the rest of the organization and how they're coping with this, but also our fellow leaders and managers and how we support them through that. And what I call that in my book, I call that the six centers of me. Center of autonomy. So do I feel a degree of independence? The center of self-motivation. Am I energized? Am I really up for this? Is my mindset with it? My center of self-confidence. Do I feel that I've got capability? Do I need to ask myself for more help? So the accountability and responsibility has to be partnered with the individual here, as well as those who are supporting them. My center of self-efficacy. So can I control and deliver what I'm promising? Do I make promises and do I deliver promises? My center of job satisfaction. Do I feel appropriately recognized and rewarded for what I do? And therefore, at organizational level, am I aware of that? About how the emotional side of this will be responded to by people in the organization. And finally, the center of relationships. Are my relationships and dealings with people meaningful and fulfilling and enjoyable through this journey? And will that support me in my own learning and what I want to achieve through the failures that I may experience, also the successes?
Fantastic. And I think the book must be having lot many nuggets which may be useful for all of us. So thank you, Jeremy, for finding time and coming on our channel, talking about something new that you have come up with to help a lot of people like us. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best with your book.
Thank you very much for having me again, CK. It's been a real pleasure.
Great. So see you next time. So friends, we had a very nice conversation with Jeremy Blaine, and it's very important to get the knowledge, and reading book is one of the major activity that all of us can indulge in. Read the book, gain knowledge. In case you want to have much deeper dialogue, you can reach out to Jeremy, and if you want to pick up the book, the link is given in the description. It is also available in India. It is available on Amazon right now. There is a ebook which is available at a very, very nominal fee, introductory price. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Click on the link given below. And friends, thanks for joining me live. I will catch you next time very soon. Until then, keep rocking, keep selling. Bye for now.